Good day, welcome to this video. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today we are going to be talking about Starfield system requirements and why the game is locked at 30 FPS on consoles and the PC hardware needed to run the game. We are on the same page and let's go to the system requirements. These are the system requirements here. As you can see, we have no settings in relation to our system requirements. So we are going to assume the worst and the minimum and recommended. So minimum is usually 720p 30 FPS and recommended is 1080p 60 FPS. The reason I am doing this is because we have no idea on how Bethesda has been testing the game and we don't really have much to go on when looking at this. As you can see, for our minimum requirements, they are recommended in R5 2600X and a Intel Core i7 10600K. The memory is 16 gigabytes of RAM, and they are recommended a 5700 and a GeForce 1070 Ti. This is a little bit of a step up than the usual minimum recommended because usually they recommend a 1060. The 1070 Ti is very close in performance to a GTX 1080. A 1080 is quite much more powerful than a 1060. So this is looking, in terms of relative performance, to be quite a demanding game minimum, given that we are working with 30 FPS usually when they recommend minimums. The storage is a SSD at 125 gigabytes. I am of the belief that the reason they are doing this is Fallout 4 is notoriously bad for having load times. For those of you who can't remember playing Fallout 4 a few years ago, on a hard drive when it now came out, load times were above 1.5 minutes. Sometimes it was about 2 minutes in some cases. So most likely the reason they are recommending an SSD is to reduce the load times that is associated with creation engine games such as Fallout 4 and Fallout 3. So overall, minimum system requirements are this. To take note of what I'm about to show here, this is the 6800K. It was tested some years back in some newer games. This is in Cyberpunk, as you could see here. And as they are testing it, it's not much slower. It's about 10-15% slower than a Ryzen 5 3600. But this is, I believe, overclocked with some tuning. In this test video, at times it can be a bit slower and a bit faster. As you can see here, it is a bit faster due to the single-threaded performance nature and the test being Far Cry. But if you come back into Assassin's Creed, you'll see it being a bit slower. The 6800K is a 6-core 12-thread processor. So take note of the minimum requirements for this game. Now, many people are running on RTX 3060. And just to talk more on the minimum requirements, as you could see, that's in line with the 2070, the 5700 XT, the 2070 Super. So it's quite a bit more powerful than a 1070 Ti. So if you have a RTX 3060, you should be more than fine. Now let's get into the recommended requirements. The recommended requirements are a 3600 and a 3600X and a 10600K. This is similar in performance to the 8700K, same 16 gigabytes of RAM, and the massive increase in a 6800 XT and an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080. Not the Super, but the 2080 and the 2080 Super do not have much difference in them. They are recommending a same SSD and 125 gigabytes of space. Let's just talk about the sheer performance difference between these GPUs. As you could see, this is around where the 2080 Super is. Let's see if I can get it here. 2070 Super, 2080. So this is the 2080. And if you come down way down here, it's 57% more powerful in rasterization. This is a ballpark, but the 6800 XT is way more powerful. Now, the reason this could be is because the game favored NVIDIA, but I want to play this. This was noted by the developer, so take a listen to this.
That moon is actually there orbiting the planet. Yes, you can visit it too. We realistically simulate the galaxy around you. Our next-generation lighting model uses real-time global illumination to light the world based on the type of star and the makeup of the planet's atmosphere.
So they are speaking about real-time illumination. Most likely this is RTGI, global illumination, some form of real-time illumination. So this could explain the difference. Now, take note of this, because if this is necessary to run the game, this is going to make the game very CPU and GPU demanding. So this could be why the game is being locked to 30 FPS on console, and it's also explaining the massive demands on the video card and the GPU from AMD, as AMD does have weaker ray tracing support than NVIDIA, but usually the 6800 XT is more comparable to a 3070 ray tracing, so this could just be what they had to test, and this could just be the usual nonsensicalness of system requirements. Now, into consoles, and I'm just going to divert into this for some people who are watching and considering why it's locked for 30 FPS on consoles. If you come here to this video from Digital Foundry, they are testing out Fallout for Skyrim Fallout 76. In this video, they could show how well the game is running with FPS boosts. And as you can see, there are small little drops, but I believe this is 1080p 60 FPS on modern consoles. The game on console is running at 4K. So when you install a mod, this runs it at 4K 60 FPS. As you could see outside in lesser demanding areas, the game does run at 60 FPS, and this is quite a lot of the game. But when you move into more demanding areas, it can drop. As you can see, it's regularly dropping in the Diamond City area. And when you go to the Corvega factory, it's dropping way down into the 40s. So this is one of the things I think people should remember, that Fallout 4 was a fairly demanding game when it came out on the CPU. So you could be looking at, that is usually the reason for the engine. Usually the engine is not too friendly on AMD hardware. It favors the single core performance of Intel, and usually back in those days it did favor NVIDIA due to the fact that it had, I believe, a form of what's that? It was like a lighting. I can't remember it. I'll put it down in the description below. Anyway, yes, I do remember it. God rays. That's what it had. NVIDIA God rays, I believe, the God rays, and that did hit performance fairly hard. Yeah. So just be aware of that. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions about if you can run the game and what you think about your system and what you need, I do believe you are going to need a SSD due to the fact of the horrible load times from Fallout 4 and the Creation Engine. Not just the load times are really bad, being very high. So I hope you like this video, hope it was informative, and I hope it's helpful. And just remember, the game is coming out, and pay attention to if they update the specs. I am hoping they give us a better breakdown, and have a nice day, everyone.